Alright guys, let's look at the steps necessary to make sure that a handgun is unloaded. Each manufacturer is just a little bit different, but the similarities for most handguns is virtually the same. Just to give you a little example, like this semi-automatic, which is going to be the first one that we look at, has a safety on it. Now there are models out there like Glock and others that do not have a safety the way this one does. You know, the 1911s, they also have a safety in this position also. This type of safety will prevent you, if it is engaged, it will prevent you from sliding the action back. You have to, in order to check this weapon, you will need to disengage the safety by flipping that down, and then you will be able to slide that action back. So the first thing that you want to be sure that you do is always keep that weapon pointed downrange. You know, you see a lot of times, say if you are on a firing line at a gun range, you've got someone over beside you, and if you take that weapon and you point it like that to check the magazine or to check to see if it is loaded, then you're pointing that weapon in the direction of someone. You could also be pointing it in the direction of property, that sort of thing. So you always want to make sure that you keep that weapon pointed downrange when you are checking it to make sure that it's safe. So what you will do is simply drop the magazine. The magazine release on a semi-automatic is generally located on the handle. For this particular model, it's located right here. Now, some weapons are ambidextrous. Of course, this one can be, but I currently have it where I'm a right-handed shooter. I currently have it basically where it came out from the factory. So the first thing you want to do, keep the weapon pointed downrange. You press that magazine release, and the magazine should fall free from the weapon. You can just press it, it'll drop right out. The next thing, if you do have a safety that keeps the action from sliding, you will need to disengage that safety. Always keep the finger off the trigger. Keep the booger hook off of the bang switch. Alright, disengage that safety, slide that action back. At this point, you can look to see if there is a round in that chamber, but you should go a step further. Lock that action back, take your finger, go in there, and make sure that there is no round in that chamber. Once again, the reason that you will do that is if you are in a dark room and you have a gun, you need to know for sure that if it's unloaded. By getting into the habit of putting your finger into that cylinder, you will know that it is unloaded. You know, there again, if you're in a dark room, if you're used to doing that, you're familiar with doing that, it will happen just by the training, just by your reflexes. You know, it'll be the standard thing. You see guys that are around guns a lot of times, they will automatically take a weapon from someone. If someone hands them a weapon, the first thing they will do is they will check themselves to make sure that it's unloaded. So that's something that you want to do. You know, you want to build safety into your training. And on your semi-automatics, to lock that slide back, in order to check inside that chamber, you will need to engage the slide lock. It is generally on the left-hand side of the gun. You can see the lever here on this particular gun. And what I will do is simply press that slide back and then press up on the slide lock. And you want to hold it there, and you will ease up on that slide, ease the pressure up, and it will hold the slide in place. Alright, now let's go through each of these steps as we would if we were to find a weapon laying out on a table or somewhere like that, and we needed to make sure that that weapon was safe. Keep it pointed in a safe direction. If you're at a gun range, keep it pointed downrange. Drop the magazine. If the safety is engaged to where you cannot cycle that action back, disengage the safety, again keeping it pointed downrange. If the magazine is loaded, you may want to lay that down somewhere, and then lock the slide of the semi-auto to the rear. From that point, you can visually inspect that chamber, you can physically inspect that chamber, and you can render that gun as safe. If your pistol has a loaded chamber indicator, never trust that. You know, even if it shows that there is a live round in that chamber, you know, you still need to make sure, if you're unloading that weapon, you need to make sure that you follow those steps. Drop the magazine, cycle that action back, keeping your finger off of the trigger. Now we're going to look at the steps involved in checking to see if a revolver is unloaded. You want to keep the weapon pointed downrange, keep your finger off of the trigger. Those are the most important steps in determining whether a weapon is loaded or unloaded. Now then, a revolver has a lever on the side of, usually the left side on most models, that you can push to release that cylinder. You know, if you try to push on the cylinder without pushing that lever in to release it, it will not open. If it does, you need to get rid of that gun. And so you will push the button on the side forward and then push the cylinder open. And from that point you will be able to see visually, and then you can also check physically whether or not there are any rounds in that chamber. Okay? And if you do find rounds in that chamber, most of the actions will have some type of a pusher to where you can kick that out. Now this is not identical on all revolver models out there. There are some old single actions that you must either take the cylinder completely out of the revolver, or you have to check it one cylinder at a time, or one chamber at a time within that cylinder. A lot of your old cowboy action guns that way, a lot of your single actions. So that is some steps that you'll need to remember whenever you are checking to see if a revolver is loaded. Now, it's a good practice if you're at the range and you are out shooting a revolver. Once you reach the end of the rounds that you're going to fire, if you are holding the master grip, which, you know, having one thumb higher than the other, depending on your grip on that pistol, you can use that thumb and actually use it to push forward on that release lever for the cylinder. At the same time, your index finger on the other side, you can use it to push the cylinder out. Some revolvers, especially a lot of the single actions, will have the rod up front that you will actually pull forward to open the cylinder. Instead of having the lever that you could push with your thumb, that rod, you will actually grab it and pull it forward and then pull the cylinder out of the weapon. You have some models that the cylinder will open, other models the entire cylinder will be removed from the weapon. Be sure to keep the weapon pointed in a safe direction, keep your finger off of the trigger, push the cylinder lock forward, and then push the cylinder open, and you will be able to unload the gun. If you're a gun owner, it is your responsibility to make sure that everyone who is around your guns are safe, whether they are in your home or if you are concealed carrying out in public. Anyways, guys, hope you liked the video. I would appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching.